All right, guys, welcome. Here we go. Let's talk a little bit about camera settings, specifically on the phone. So I'm using my iPhone 7 Plus, okay? A couple things. When you get ready to start using a cell phone as a camera, you want to make sure you have a clean lens. So the first thing I'm going to do, now I prefer to use a cleaning cloth, which, there it is, right there on my desk. But you can use a t-shirt or a cotton shirt. Don't use anything that's got weird materials on it, something that could scratch up your lens. So I'm going to take this here, my cleaning lens, or my lens cleaning cloth, get a little hot air on there. Careful, don't spread the COVID, all right? You don't want to do that. So I'm going to get a little hot air on there. I'm going to go ahead, wipe that down. Now, mind you, stop, there we go. You've got multiple cameras. Now, if you got a fancier camera, you might have cameras all over your phone. I've got one in the front, and I have one in the back. And so I just want to make sure that I get that all cleaned up. So now, just that alone, just cleaning off your lens is going to make you have better photos right from the get-go. So that's all nice and clean. That's nice and clean. There it is. The next thing you want to do to get good photos is have lots of light. Now, if you were to look over there, I've got a big spotlight there, a big spotlight there, and I have overhead lights. So what's going to happen, that's going to allow my camera to automatically have better quality images, okay? You have something on your camera called ISO. And the ISO is the amount of pixels that are sensitive to light, all right? So right there, right inside that lens, that projects an image onto all these light-sensitive pixels. In lower light, you guys might notice that your images are more grainy. Those are the pixels getting bigger. Okay, so for example, normally your pixels are this big. Teeny tiny, see there, there you go, right there, tiny little pixels. Well, that works great when there's lots of light. When you have lower light, so in the evening or indoors, those pixels need to get bigger so that they can capture more light. So now my pixels are this big. So we went from this big to this big. So what happens is I can take a picture in lower light, but it's going to be more grainy. So the more light you have, the better. There are ways to control that on the camera. I'm going to show you two different versions of that on my phone that I can access my imagery. And you're going to kind of figure out on your phone what works best for your phone. I'll be available for questions to help you out with that. Okay, so here we go. Let's see what we got. I'm going to start. Whoop. Screen recording now. Welcome to my iPhone 7. Here we go. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to click on the camera app. Okay. So here's my camera app. Obviously I have different settings, okay? All right, there's that right there. Now we can see everything that's going on, what I'm doing, what's going on here. So I've got time-lapse, slow-mo, video. We don't need any of that for our assignments. Also, if you have live photo mode, I don't know if Samsungs have that, iPhones do, turn it off for this. That's just excess files you don't need. If you're like, I love live photos, Mr. Riggins. Great, send those to your friends, Snapchat, all that good stuff for this class. I wouldn't have the live photo turned on just because it's gonna make file management a lot easier. So I have photo, I have portrait, I have square, thank you Instagram, and I have panorama. We are gonna be using panorama a little bit later. We're gonna stick with photo. Now if you've got something like portrait, which allows you to take what we call narrow depth of field photos, great. If not, that's okay. I'm gonna stick with just photo, okay? Now, first thing you're gonna notice about my camera is that it has the rule of thirds inside of it, okay? You can see it on the screen right there, rule of thirds, okay? Another thing that I would encourage you guys to do is don't always take pictures vertically. Take pictures horizontally, okay? Don't be afraid to rotate your camera, all right? Photograph vertically, photograph horizontally. In addition to that, think about this, guys. This right here is your lens. Boop, boop, boop. If I want to take a picture, okay, up close to something down on the ground, how I rotate my camera changes how low that lens is on the camera. Okay, so if I take my camera and do it like this, I'm gonna get that lens right next to the ground. I'm gonna get really interesting photographs down next to the ground. If I have it like this, it's a little bit higher off the ground, not gonna be quite as worm's eye view. Okay, so a couple things to think about just on the physical elements of your camera: vertical photos, horizontal photos, high lens, low lens. Okay, so play around with the orientation of your camera. So up at the top, I have something like this. The little lightning bolt right up here, okay? You'll see the little lightning bolt. That is for flash. Don't have flash on your cell phones. Turn it off. If you're gonna photograph indoors, just don't have the flash on. It's gonna be really harsh and not great on cell phones. Now, some of your smartphones recalculate everything and make it really attractive. So if it works for you, great. I would just turn it off. I almost always have it turned off unless I have to get a photo, in which case, I, believe it or not, I carry around a portable battery and a light that's very, very bright. So I always actually have an off-camera light that I use when I take photos with my phone, because I'm a photo nerd. So that's not bad. This is like $9 off Amazon, and they're very, very bright. Okay. So I'm gonna keep that off. HDR. Now on the iPhones, they have this little thing called HDR. If you look at the top of my screen here, we've got the HDR setting. HDR is good. You can turn it on. It's gonna photograph your photo twice. It's gonna have a normal photo, and then it's gonna have a high dynamic range photo. That's what HDR means. What that does is it takes 3 photos, finds the highlights, shadows, and midtones, and mushes them all together. You're gonna get more texture, you're gonna get more detail. It's good, but sometimes the file can translate poorly when it leaves the phone, right? So sometimes iPhones can say, oh, it's not gonna work anymore unless it's iPhone to iPhone. So I'm going to operate with that off. All right, unless I'm photographing water and really nice clouds, then I might take a photograph with it on. But for this example, get a little coffee. For this example, I'm gonna go ahead and keep it off. Now, that little thing in the center, that's live photos, turn that off, get out of here. Then we have timer. You guys are gonna be doing an assignment called the unselfie, where you have to take selfies, but you can't have the phone in your hand, and that timer is gonna come in handy. I'm gonna keep it off for now. And the last one is these 3 little circles. And that's gonna allow me to change filters. If you want to use that, great. I'm going to say just keep it original. We want to have some more freedom. So those are the basic settings that everybody can find on their camera. I want to get a little deeper into these settings. So what I have to do now, I've got to leave. Whoop! I'm going to rotate my phone sideways, just because it's a little better for you guys to see in this video. So I'm going to rotate my phone sideways. Hopefully it actually rotated in the video, because currently I've got to splice these together, so we'll see what happens. And I'm gonna go over here to settings. So that's that little gear on the iPhone. I'm not sure where your settings are on your phone, but on the iPhone, it's these little gears here. And I'm gonna scroll to the camera. There it is, camera, click. So now I have even more settings that I can manipulate in my camera. So scan QR codes, you know, that's great. It doesn't have anything to do with this class. It's gonna allow you to photograph QR codes. Now, recording video, I can pick right here how I want to record video. Now, we're not recording video in this. However, I am teaching a video class, and most likely we're gonna be taking it at home like we are. So, this is where you change the quality of your camera. For video, I always have it at 4K, 30 frames a second. If I wanted to slow it down, I'd go to HD, 1080p, 60 frames a second. I can make it half as fast and it still looks okay. The camera that this is currently being shot on is filming at 120 frames a second, so I can really slow it down. I'm just not going to. So I always shoot at 4K. This is also 250 gigabytes on my phone, so I got the room to have it. Okay? And it kind of tells you, explains what each of those. Lock camera. Do not automatically switch between camera while recording video. So if I'm really want to make sure I don't accidentally bounce around the different things on my camera settings, I can click lock camera here. I'm going to keep it unlocked. Okay, back to slow-mo. I have some options there for slow-mo. 720p has less resolution than 1080p, so if ever using your camera and you want really clean video or photo, 1080p 4K is better. Some of you guys probably have really fancy phones that have even better resolution than that, but notice I can actually record faster at 720. It's because it's using less pixels. It can move them faster. 1080 is using more pixels, so it has to move them slower, so I can't record quite as fast. Formats, boom. Most compatible. So I don't like to use the high efficiency. Whenever I'm taking photos or videos, I don't like to use high efficiency. That saves space and compresses my photos so they're smaller. I like to use most compatible. That means it's going to be JPEGs. Plus iPhones, oh, Mom, I'm so fancy, I'm not going to let you have freedom over your tools. So it's kind of frustrating. Keep normal photos. So if I were to shoot HDR, you can see that right down here, HDR. I keep the normal photo and the HDR. I can turn that off and it's less files, okay? Now, guys, that's really it. That's the only settings I have. So let's jump back over to the camera, show you some tricks on the camera here, and then I'm gonna show you how to get access to even more features on your camera. So first thing is, let's say focus. I wanna pick a particular thing to focus on. On the iPhone, I can just tap. Those are the markers. Tap, that's that little jar of paints. Tap, there's my coffee mug. Tap, there's one of my cameras. Tap, there's another camera. Tap, there's a background. Tap the cup again here, okay? So I can pick what I want to focus on. Now, one thing this is great for is, let's say I want to get this background here, everything in the background blurry, and I want my cup to be in focus. So I'm gonna tap on the cup, and it's gonna focus on the cup just like that, and now everything in the background is blurry. Now if I get even closer, see how close I can get here. Oh my goodness, I can get that close to the cup. Now this horizontal composition is not exactly what I want for a cup, so I'm gonna go vertical, tap on the cup like that, and notice how blurry everything is back here, very blurry, while the cup itself is in focus. Now I can click on the background, it'll readjust, and now the cup's blurry. This is really good for framing. So yesterday we talked about framing. Watch this. I'm gonna take these two objects here. These are some jars of paint. I'm gonna find my lens. I'm gonna put my lens low, like this. Go over to the side here, and I want to photograph my tripod. There we go. Notice I framed my image with these two bottles of paint. That's an ugly photo, but you get the idea, so I'm gonna move those out of the way. So you can focus your camera by simply tapping where you want it to focus. Now, one thing that's kind of tricky, if you're a wiggly person, oh, wiggly, 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 and you have a hard time keeping it still, notice your camera's constantly trying to readjust what it's focusing on. That drives me crazy. I want to control it. So I'm gonna tap, and then on the iPhone, I'm gonna hold down, and you can see lock, lock, lock. Now, if I move this over here, it's staying focused in that one area. Where this is great, I can get real close to this cup here. Notice it's not letting me focus. It's gonna try. I'll hold down, lock, lock, lock. I can kind of adjust it now to get it in focus. There we go, just like that. So having a automatic locked focus, and this calls it AEAF, autofocus lock, that really can help you pick what's in focus. I would encourage you guys, try to get your backgrounds blurry. We're gonna learn about that later in composition stuff and more photos, but whenever you take pictures, let me just lock in on this cup again. Having the background blurry and the foreground, in this case is the cup, in focus, is gonna make your photos a lot better. It's gonna give them depth and separation between background and foreground. Plus, if your background's boring, like everything I got going back here, once it blurs, it kind of becomes ambiguous, and it's all about the object. So do everything you can to get a blurry background by selecting the object you want to focus on. Now, another thing that you can do, again, this is on the iPhone. It's going to be a little bit different on other phones. I'm going to lock in. Notice that little sunshine right here. See that little sunshine? That's your exposure level. I can overexpose this, make it very, very bright. Could be fun, especially flowers or snow is fun. Or I can make it real moody and dark. There you go. Just really underexpose it. What's cool about this, notice this little highlight on my cup right here. See how that's kind of glowing? If you want to photograph candles and you want the space around the candle to be dark but the flame to be bright, you can change that exposure right here on the iPhone. Okay? Awesome. Take a picture. Pachow. So, yesterday, you guys on your Flip Gear were supposed to pick maybe Wednesday. I think today's Wednesday. I'm recording it on Monday or Tuesday, so you're watching this probably on Wednesday. I don't know, maybe Thursday. Anyways, I wanted you guys to pick an app for photos on Monday. I want to show you the app that I prefer to use. Now, I'm going to scroll over here to my cameras. There we go. Snapseed's a great photo program, and actually it's a great editor. Snapseed, that's that little green one with the leaf. VSCO is really good at making neat textures and content like that. PicStitch is putting pictures together. It's fun if you're going to post something on Instagram, but not necessarily great for this class. LumaFusion down there, that is, let's see, I don't know, LumaFusion right there, that green and blue one. That's for video editing, really good. It's a $30 app though, it's very expensive. DJI Fly, if you're in my video class and we ever meet each other again, I do have drones, and we're going to practice flying drones in class. Very cool. But Film IC Pro. This is a $10 app. I'm rather a fan of it here, so it's going to load up. Notice it has a soundbar. Now this is predominantly for video purposes. Okay, but I've got a couple things here. I've got this little circle. So I'm going to tap that circle, and then I'm going to hold down on that circle. Notice this here. That's my exposure. Okay. High ISO bias. Oh man, there we go. I can make it brighter. Notice it's kind of grainy in there. If I zoom in, notice it's real grainy. So get back over to that side. Exposure, pull speed. There we go, low ISO bias. So I can slide this little bar right here on the left. Moderate ISO. I always like to have low ISO because that's going to mean less pixels, smoother photos. So I always try to go low ISO, and I can come through and change my exposure. Okay, and get out of here. I want to focus on my cup again. Give me a cup. Boom. Okay, that is, sorry, this circle is my exposure. It's been a while since I've used this app. So if I want to expose or pick the brightness based off of this wood back here or on this little highlight, so see if I put on the highlight, everything around it gets darker. If I put over here on the red, everything else gets brighter. Okay. We're going to learn more about exposure later, but what I'm picking is what I want my camera to expose off of. So if you move that around, it's going to let you do what we call meter exposing. That's some next level advanced stuff, guys. So you don't got to worry about it right now. Okay. Just know that I can make my pictures brighter or darker using exposure. I can tap on this, slide that over, change my exposure. Okay. Now the red one, get out of here. The red one, boom, that is my focus. Look at that. I can now control the focus on my phone with this dial on the right. So I can, you know, let's maybe get this little, oh, zoom, watch out now. Get our exposure a little brighter so you can see. There you go, a little brighter. Come back over here. Now I can actually manually focus my lens and my camera right here. On the regular iPhone app, I can't do that. So it's good to have that ability. Zoom, I can switch it over. I can zoom in. Whoa, look at that. I can get right up in there. And this maximizes my ISO so I can really get some good photos. This little piece of fabric here. I mean, look how close I can get focused in on stuff. Okay, great setting. And then obviously, that's under record. So let's do this here. Now I have all this other content right here. Camera. I'm going to click over to camera. I can pick what kind of lens I'm using. Okay, it's going to switch around to selfie mode. We're going to do wide angle lens. Done. Device, where I'm going to save all my content to. Okay, resolution, how good of a video or photo I can get. There we go. All right, guys. So that's pretty intense stuff there on this camera. So it's loading right now. Okay, it's trying to figure out what it's doing. So those are an option there, guys. I'm going to go ahead and bounce out of that there. And we're going to stop recording. That was a lot. That's a long stop recording. So that's your camera. Take your phone and just play around with it. Try to figure out all the camera settings you can use. Ask questions. Hop on YouTube. You know, if you have a Galaxy S12, whatever the thing is now, just say how to take great photos on Galaxy S12, and there's going to be a tutorial somewhere online. I don't use Galaxy. They're great phones. I just happen to have an iPhone because I've had it forever. So there it is, guys. How long has this been? This is a 20-minute video. It's a long time. Good luck.